From the Roman headquarters of the Custody of the Holy Land, Father Francesco Ielpo shares about his vocation and the challenges of his new role. At the monastery of St. Joseph in Ischia, the Marian Movement celebrated the 15th anniversary of its founding and the 44th anniversary of the apparitions of Medjugorje. The Assembly of Catholic Ordinaries of the Holy Land has appointed lawyer Farid Joubran as the first lay executive director of Christian schools in Israel. The travelling exhibition Jordan Dawn of Christianity reaches a key stop, arriving in the city of St. Francis, Assisi. The exhibition will be open to visitors until August the 2nd. Discovering the Nazarenes, a guided tour with Father Narcís Klimas in the historic Villa Masimo, the Roman seat of the Custody of the Holy Land. Appointed Custos of the Holy Land on June the 24th, Father Francesco Ielpo is preparing to undertake a role of great responsibility and profound spiritual meaning. His appointment is a sign of trust and continuity in the Franciscan mission in the holy places, at the service of the Church and of pilgrims from around the world. Among his already scheduled commitments, the new Custos kindly gave us a moment to tell us about himself, his vocation as a friar minor, and to share some thoughts on the Holy Land and the mission that awaits him. A young medical student with a girlfriend and a part-time job, everything seemed quite ordinary in his life, yet there was a restlessness in his heart. What is worth spending life for, and for whom? Without yet knowing St. Francis, he was accompanied by a friar minor on a journey of vocational discernment.
Sul piatto della bilancia, da una parte c'era tutto quello che io avevo.
On the scale, on one side there was everything I had and would have to give up, and on the other side there was only the Lord. But for me it was clear that the Lord weighed more. I remember that on the day of my profession, that is, my consecration, I chose this phrase which sums up my whole vocation. It is a verse from the book of the prophet Jeremiah that says, "You have seduced me, Lord, and I let myself be seduced. You were stronger than I, and you prevailed." Father Yelpo entered the Franciscan convent, living out his entire vocation within his own religious province, never having thought about the Holy Land. In 2013, he expressed to his superiors the desire to leave for a mission in Africa, but instead he was asked to take on the role of commissary of the Holy Land.
È sempre più conveniente.
It is always more fitting to say yes to what the superiors ask. Through them, God's will is revealed, even when it's mysterious, even when it's painful. At that moment, I said yes. I had never thought of the Holy Land. I would never have asked for it, but I understood it was better to say yes. And so a new, unexpected world opened up to me, and after 13 years, I can say it was more than worth it, even for my own life. For him, the Holy Land has been an opportunity for true conversion, a genuine falling in love with Christ, the Word made flesh, who came to dwell precisely in this land.
Perché la Terra Santa ti costringe a fare.
Because the Holy Land forces you to confront the humanity of Jesus. Every place speaks to you of a concrete fact, of something embodied, of a real, true presence. And for me, this was truly significant, even for my vocation. It is also a place that helped him grow personally, broaden his horizons, and open up to encounter with peoples and cultures different from his own. Encountering diversity is always something that enriches and makes you grow. I would not be the person I am today without these continuous meetings with people, cultures and religions different from my own. Faced with the mission that awaits him, marked by numerous challenges such as war, the absence of pilgrims and the inherent difficulties of the custody of the Holy Land, Father Yelpo feels supported and encouraged. He is deeply grateful for the precious work done in recent years by Father Francesco Patton and proud of the commitment of the approximately 280 friars who accompany the people living in those places every day. Personally, putting myself at the service of the custody, which means serving those living stones, those holy and blessed places, is above all a help to my own life, and so it is a great opportunity. In a climate of faith and hope, on July the 4th, in the courtyard of the Sisters of St. Joseph Monastery in Ischia, 2 anniversaries were celebrated, 15 years since the founding of the Marian Movement and 44 years since the apparitions of Medjugorje. The founder, Charbel Maroun, originally from this village, created the movement when he was just 20 years old. My visit to Medjugorje in Bosnia and Herzegovina, where the prolonged apparitions of the Virgin take place, deeply touched my heart. I never imagined that 15 years later I would find such a rebirth within the movement. Today, many young people knock at our door, eager to join a Christian prayer group that lives the gospel here in the Holy Land. The Eucharistic celebration was presided over by the Patriarchal Vicar, His Excellency Monsignor William Shomali, in the presence of numerous bishops, priests and a crowd of faithful. The message of the Virgin Mary is the same as that of her Son. She teaches us the very same things. In every apparition she reminds us, if you do not convert, you will all perish. In his homily, the Patriarchal Vicar highlighted, St. Matthew was a young man, just over 20, searching for his future, convinced that money was the key to success. For this reason, he chose to become a tax collector, a figure at the time associated with injustice, greed and the exploitation of the poor. Yet Jesus looked at him, loved him, and chose him. This call teaches us that God's criteria are not those of men. Jesus recognizes in him an inner restlessness and the desire for a true life. In the same way, he sees in each of us the potential to become saints. During the Mass, 7 new members joined the movement, eager to become disciples of Christ and witnesses of his gospel in a world that often denies its values. If you are looking for a living, committed Christian community and you're afraid of feeling alone, come here. You will be welcomed by a house and a monastery called the House of Divine Mercy and by a community called the Marian Movement. In a time when, in many Christian communities, more and more young people are marrying later, in the Marian Movement, exactly the opposite is happening. In the Marian Movement, there are 16 couples of young people who got married within the community, generally about 3 years after joining. I met the one who is now my wife when she joined the movement during the gatherings. I never imagined that a love story could be born between us.
I feel that prayer unites us deeply. We pray the rosary together almost every day, and on Sundays we go to church. Now we are expecting a baby, and we will accompany him on his journey of faith.
Prayer is as essential as breathing, which is why we tell young people to pray. It is not an imposition, but an invitation for their own good. In the Marian Movement, young people rediscover themselves and bring the Christian message into society under the protection of the Virgin Mary, Mother of the Church. Jeris Yarjura is a member of the movement and is currently engaged. In the Marian Movement, we have achieved the goal of forming a holy family, receiving precious guidance on how to build it, despite the difficulties and challenges of daily life. At the end of the celebration, the statue of the Virgin was welcomed with hymns, songs and applause. On June the 2nd, 2025, the Assembly of Catholic Bishops of the Holy Land appointed lawyer Farid Joubran as the first layperson to serve as Executive Director of Christian schools in Israel.
المدير التنفيذي الجديد هو كفؤ لأنه
The new CEO is a figure of proven competence. He studied law, specialized in institutional relations, speaks Hebrew, and has significant experience within the church. His appointment also reflects a new direction taken by the church after the synod approved by Pope Francis, aiming to give greater value to the role of laity.
إنه إعطاء مكانة أكبر للعلمانيين.
Lawyer Joubran describes the challenges facing Christian schools as existential. Christian schools represent an essential pillar of the Christian presence in the Holy Land. Without their educational work, this presence would inevitably be destined to disappear. They are the vital core that safeguards and shapes future generations. One of the main challenges lawyer Joubran faces, and is trying to overcome, is the disparity in funding. Although Christian schools are recognized, they are not official state schools. As a result, government budgets favor public schools, including programs to increase teachers' salaries. There are non-governmental schools that receive more substantial state funds than we do. If these budgets are allocated to them, we ask, why not to us as well? Unfortunately, the current program does not include our schools, and this is a serious gap. It leads to an exodus of teachers from our schools to public ones, where working conditions are better, resulting in an increasing shortage of teaching staff. According to data from the Israeli Central Bureau of Statistics, students in Christian schools achieve the highest academic results. These institutions also place strong emphasis on integrating the identity of the Christian community with Christian education, aiming to help build a civil society founded on human values. It is important to note that the General Secretariat of Christian Schools also includes non-Catholic institutions. The main goal of the General Secretariat of Christian Schools is to unite all the schools present throughout Israel. Can this unity also apply among the churches? Just as the Great Schism in the Church was preceded by gradual phases, so too mending a torn garment requires time and patience. Similarly, the process of reconciliation advances through progressive steps, keeping in mind that the reasons for disagreement are very few compared to the many points on which we are already in agreement. A sacred mission awaits the new executive director of the church schools. This is not just any position, but a role deeply tied to the identity of the little flock and its presence in the Holy Land. It is a responsibility that includes maintaining academic excellence and expanding the educational offerings of these schools. Lawyer Farid Joubran, may the Lord bless you. We wish you every success and prosperity. The travelling exhibition Jordan, Dawn of Christianity reaches a key stop, arriving in the city of St. Francis, Assisi, spiritual heart and universal symbol of peace and fraternity. After opening its journey in the heart of Rome at the Vatican during the Jubilee year, this exhibition continues to share the historical and cultural richness of Jordan, a sacred land that holds precious biblical sites. Assisi thus welcomes this extraordinary treasure chest of faith and memory, opening new paths of dialogue and discovery about the profound meaning of Christian roots in the Holy Land.
Thanks
to the Studium Biblicum Franciscanum, I've had the chance to visit many places in this land, places that extend beyond those commonly known. Turkey, Greece, but especially Jordan. Right now, here in Assisi at the Palazzo del Monte Frumentario, the exhibition Dawn of Christianity has just opened. It's been a beautiful opportunity to rediscover not only mosaics or pieces of art and culture from the early Christian era in Jordanian lands, but above all to experience and help others discover, especially those who may not know, that Jordan hosted the first Christianity and the earliest expressions of faith discovered in the person of Jesus Christ.
E le prime forme di fede scoperte nella persona di Gesù Cristo.
The exhibition presents a rich variety of artifacts, stone and marble elements, coins from different eras, lanterns, metal crosses, tombstones and mosaics. Promoted by the Jordanian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, it was inaugurated in the presence of Minister Lina Hannab. The exhibition, with free admission, will be open until August the 2nd.
La ministra del turismo ha ringraziato I frati.
The Minister of Tourism thanked the friars for their 800-year presence in the land of Jesus and throughout Jordan. Not only do they continue the Franciscan spirit, but they also bear witness through biblical and archaeological studies. In particular, Father Michele Piccirillo and Father Eugenio Aliata have done so much for Jordan. So I invite you, if you have the chance, to come see a piece of the Holy Land, of Jordan, right here in Assisi.
Di approfittare di vedere anche un pezzo della Terra Santa, soprattutto della Giordania ad Assisi.
Ci troviamo di fronte alla villa Masimo, era una villa di una famiglia patrizia romana dei Giustiniani.
We are standing in front of Villa Massimo, once owned by a noble Roman family, the Giustiniani. This place was purchased by the friars in 1948 to become the delegation of the Holy Land, serving the activities that, through Italy, are carried out in support of the custody of the Holy Land and, more broadly, the Holy Land itself. It is a peaceful and charming place, as you can see. It is also a historic and ancient site. Inside the villa, as we will see, there are extraordinary works to admire and tell about, created by a group of German painters known as the Nazarenes. These artists were looking for a space where they could freely practice their art and show their talent, and they fully succeeded. Let us go inside the villa.
Per vedere le loro capacità e veramente sono riusciti ottimamente a farlo vedere, quindi entriamo dentro nella villa. E nella villa abbiamo 3 stanze, quella che ci troviamo adesso è dedicata ai 3 famosi scrittori italiani, Torquato Tasso, Ariosto e Dante.
Inside the villa we have 3 rooms. The one we are in now is dedicated to 3 famous Italian writers, Torquato Tasso, Ariosto and Dante Alighieri. This central one is dedicated to the liberation of Jerusalem. Beautiful images describe the scene, the liberation obviously connected with the period of the Crusades, when the Crusader Knights arrived in Jerusalem to free it from Muslim occupation. The other room is dedicated to what I would say is the most well-known of all. It's dedicated to Dante Alighieri, and thus to the Divine Comedy divided into its 3 parts, Inferno, Purgatorio and Paradiso, depicted through incredible images with colours that have been wonderfully preserved. We believe they date back to the late 18th century, a splendid work. The Inferno is shown, then the passage through Purgatory with the enchantment of the Te Deum Laudamus introducing Paradise, and on an entire wall Paradise itself. On another wall we also find Dante Alighieri with his 3 famous beasts, likewise described and painted excellently. Here is the 3rd room. Once again, beautiful images, this time dedicated to battle scenes. This is the official seat of the custody of the Holy Land here in Rome.
Quindi questa è la seconda stanza, poi c'è ancora la terza stanza, sempre immagini bellissime, le scene rappresentate dai combattimenti. Quindi questa è la sede ufficiale della Custodia di Terra Santa qui a Roma.
These masterpieces can be appreciated free of charge by the public 3 times a week. Just ring the bell or book a visit, especially if you come in a group. Father Narcis says that often German visitors come precisely to admire the works of their compatriots. It is also interesting to note the connection between the villa and the custody of the Holy Land. Since 1948, right after the war, the friars were looking for a place to establish a convent, a central headquarters linked to the Holy Land. One friar had a good intuition. He found this villa for sale and decided to buy the property. Later, the buildings that today form the convent, the chapel, and all the structures necessary for the community were built. We are fortunate to be so close to St. John Lateran, right behind the University of St. Anthony, a truly privileged location.
Quindi potremmo dire un luogo veramente privilegiato.
Open yourself to a gesture of solidarity and support the mission of the Custody of the Holy Land. The Christian Media Center spreads the good news of Jesus by making known to the world the spirituality of the holy places and the lives of the Christians who live here. Your contribution will help us bring the proclamation of the risen Lord, the most urgent of all, to men and women of every language and nation. To help us concretely, open the QR code. Your choice makes a difference.